I'm one.
You're number one.
Thank you so much.
All right. I'm going to hit this thing and hope for the best.
Okay.
Here we go.
Fingers crossed.
Oh,
Okay.
web 2 to web 1. Okay.
Yeah, I remembered this time.
What's the low heavyweight? He did like my.
All right, welcome in, everyone. It is 3 News, Facebook Live, and YouTube. I'm Dave DeNatale. That is Dorsena Drakeford.
Hello.
We've got a busy show coming up at 11 on What's Next. And boy, oh boy, Dorsena, this one, it affects us locally. It affects us as sports fans. The story came out last night. We found out just about, almost at this time last night, it came out that the boxer Patrick Day, who was in a bout over the weekend in Chicago with Cleveland Heights native and Olympian and somebody we all got to know very well in Rio a couple years ago, Charles Conwell. It was a big win for Conwell as he won in a 10th round knockout, but 4 days later, Patrick Day died as a result of the injuries in the fight.
Yeah, it was definitely something that took a lot of people by surprise. I know a lot of people in this newsroom were kind of shocked by it. I'm really sure Conwell is reeling over this too. He even talked about maybe getting out of the sport altogether. I mean, it's just been kind of like a roller coaster of emotions because boxing is a sport that some people do enjoy to watch, and this is something that can happen.
So, we've kind of today, as we've had time to kind of process it. You've gone out and about today, and I know kind of talking to, Northeast Ohio is a boxing mecca. It always has been. And there's a great tradition here. And I think about, Sean Porter, Showtime Sean Porter, who's been a champion. This is Northeast Ohio is a boxing community, always has been.
Yeah.
You went out to kind of talk to that community today and to see what the reaction is to all this.
Right, so stopped by King's Gym in Bedford Heights, and Edwin King is a USA Level 2 boxing ref and a judge, so he knows a little bit. He was a manager for 10 years for a boxer, so he knows the professional part of this, so we decided to just stop by his gym and talk to him a little bit just about this whole situation. If there's anything that could avoid it, and moving forward, what is this sport going to look like, knowing that on average there are 13 deaths a year from boxers that sustain injuries and end up passing away from it.
And this strikes close to home. Everybody remembers. I mean, I grew up as a kid in the 80s. There was a boxer from Youngstown, Rayboom Mancini, who was at that championship level, and he ultimately, in a fight that was nationally televised, I think, ended up the boxer he beat ended up dying as a result of his injuries. I mean, this isn't a new thing.
No, it's not.
But I also feel like, Dorsena, because everywhere in sports there's an emphasis on protecting the head.
Right.
Certainly in football.
Yes.
But boxing. This is going to bring up those discussions about, do they need to wear the same headgear that they do at the Olympics, things like that. Was that part of the conversation today?
We talked briefly about that, mostly about some of the things that need to change on a national level, and we could kind of lead into that part of it with head protection and stuff like that. But I think the problem that King was saying was that this sport is not regulated nationally.
Right.
It's a state-by-state thing. So if you don't qualify for a physical as a boxer in one state, you can just go to the other one if they have, more, lax rules, and you could easily box doing that. It's just kind of like there are loopholes that need to be addressed in order for this sport to continue to not only be as popular as it once was, but healthy.
But that's a great point about, because everybody has a state athletic, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is always sanctions a lot of those fights you might see in Las Vegas. The Ohio Athletic Commission or the State Athletic Commission, and they're the ones who give the licenses to the boxers to fight. So, and it's not like everybody always thinks of, because with boxing there are so many organizations, the WBC, and it's like alphabet soup. But they're not the people who license the fighters. And they're not the people who do the medical exams.
Yeah, I learned a little bit, I learned some new things today talking to him. I mean, he's very well educated in this, obviously. So I learned that, and I'm just like, oh, wow. Because it is a little bit like, you would think, but it's not necessarily the truth. And I think the important part here is that people know how to prepare themselves and how to constantly monitor their health, especially in a sport like that. I mean, he talked about going to get your physicals, getting CAT scans and stuff like that, just to make sure that you don't have any underlying issues that could potentially come out and be detrimental.
It's going to be interesting to see long term how both boxing and I mix in mixed martial arts, pardon the pun, but because we have a lot of UFC fans because of Stipe Miocic and what he's been able to do in the mixed martial arts, which also requires a lot of times blows to the head and things like that. How this will affect, you know, those professional organizations, but also it's where you were today in the gyms and in the you know the kids who are in high school and are trying to think about, you know, what I want to do to succeed as an athlete. A lot of them love boxing. Boxing's a great sport. They love it. And do they want to stick with it though, with the risks?
Yes. You know what? I asked that very question to some guy, Tyrone Evans, who actually wants to be a professional boxer, and I was like, man, are you like worried about this? And he was like, look, you have to be able to take a punch to give a punch, and that's part of the sport. And once you fall in love with it, I don't really know if there's anything that you can say to someone that's like, hey, maybe you should, you know, it's the same with football. Like at a young age, if that's something that you were, you know, something that you did a lot or something that your parents groomed you to love, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell someone, hey, by the way, change your mindset on this.
Because that's where you were tonight, that's where the dreams start.
Exactly.
Because you walk into those gyms, I'm so interested to see your report because you see the posters on the walls and you know sometimes the Sean Porters and those types of guys come back in and they tell stories and that's where the dream begins, and nobody wants to be told that boom, your dream is over. But at the same time, no, I mean, it's going to give you pause to say, okay, do I really want to put my life on the line here? I mean, it's going to be a tough thing for, I think, anybody, but especially I think those kids from like, you know, 12 to 18 who are really, you know, committing themselves at the gym.
Yeah, they are training. This is something they're incorporating in their everyday lives. And I think when I talked to one, he's 22 years old. His mom is the one that was just like, hey, maybe we should reconsider. But he was trying to, I guess, pacify the situation by saying, hey, look, I'm going to the doctor every year getting physicals. I'm making sure my training is right. And King talked about getting a trainer and a coach that you trust and that you know, and someone's credentialed, you know, things that you can do to make sure that they have your best interest at heart.
Because what you just said, you're taking it down another level. I mean, you're going from state athletic commission to license the boxer. Now you're going trainer, manager, who you're entrusting your health to to take you to, you know, okay, I'm experiencing some blurred vision and things like that. You know, what do I do? You know, sometimes, you know, you hear stories like, oh, well, you know what, it'll go away, it'll pass. You've got to find people who are going to put you first.
Exactly. Like you are your first line of defense when it comes to your health, but when you are new to the sport or maybe you just don't understand exactly what's going on with your body as you're training, I mean, those people are supposed to be there to help you. And as a ref, that's exactly what King was saying too. You know, he said, there was a quote that he told me, you would much rather call 1,000 fights like early than to have one that you called way too late, you know? It's just, you want to make sure you're on top of everything. And I think this is a prime example. And though we don't know exactly what happened with Patrick Day because the autopsy results and everything, we do know that that hit probably had something to do with it.
This is kind of put a kind of a bow on it. This is kind of a sobering post here from Jason, but I think it's worth saying. Rayboom Mancini, who I mentioned earlier, he goes, he was never the same after he knocked out and killed. Dooku Kim was the name of the boxer that died at the hands of Boom Boom Mancini. And it's why, while we're thinking about Patrick Day and we're thinking about his family, it's hard not to think about, after we read his post on social media, what Charles is going through right now too.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what that's like. I mean, you're doing something that you love and somebody else is doing what they love. and this ended, you know, one person's life, and it's really unfortunate, and I can't even imagine what he's going through right now.
Yeah. Last thought, and we'll put a bow on this. Again, what's next tonight at 11? Dorsena will have this report. In addition, we've got a lot of other things going on tonight. Russ Mitchell, Betsy Kling, and Al Pulowski will join you at 11 on what's next. Just to put a bow on our conversation from Sarah, saying this is a known complication with the sport. I don't mean that to be, you know, disrespectful or take it lightly. Think about policemen or police persons, officers, firefighters, nurses, practitioners, doctors. We all sign up for this, including military.
That's right.
And I'm sure that's probably some of the, especially the veteran boxers, I would imagine they would say that.
Yeah, and even the young ones, the 20-somethings that I was talking to, they said the same thing. You know, we know the risk when we sign up, and we still do it, you know, whether it's, you know, to defend our country or our communities or to defend yourself, I guess, for a sport. I mean, people know what they're signing up for the most part. So
absolutely. Dorsena, thank you for your time. I know
Absolutely.
you get ready for the 11. Again,
Yeah.
that's on tonight at 11 on What's Next. Quick shout out, by the way, to Master Pizza. We didn't get Donovan and Dino tonight, but remember Master Pizza, download those Master Pizza app on your phone. Start earning pizza points today. Bring your pizza in here, Mike LaMarca, and we're still trying to get everybody fed here on Nightside.
yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, I love to eat.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, we all love to eat. Again, What's Next tonight at 11, and we'll be back next week with more Donovan and Dino with Jimmy coming back next week. Dorsena,
right.
thank you, and we thank you for
Dino.
watching here on 3 News Facebook Live and also on YouTube. All right. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.